a conversation with my next guest just now, and that particular conversation we were having, I want to have, but we're going to pause on that. It's quite an intriguing discussion. What I was being told, and hearing that makes me quite proud actually. But it's about the relationship here in Trinidad and Tobago between work and play, and even what you experience outside of Trinidad and Tobago. We'll get into that later on. In fact, this morning, the individual that I am joined by, Ashley, has just authored a book. It's called Empowering Social Growth. It focuses on the relationship, actually, between the social impact of ESGs. Exactly what are ESGs? And that is environment, social, and governance policies. Let's get into that as we have 10 chapters to try and peruse through this morning. I'm joined by THERESE Cornelius. She is an author, of course, and you would have known her as a former government minister here in TNT, but now working abroad as an international management consultant. She joins us virtually. Good morning. Welcome to AM Prime.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Yes, I was a former minister. That's really in the past. Actually, what actually led me more into this whole area of sustainability was when I was based in Geneva with sustainability issues. And I was selected to be on the advisory panel of United Nations Forum of Sustainability Standards. And that is when I realized that, yeah, we are all on track to try to make this world a better world. But really, who are we doing it for? Because many times rules and regulations are being put into place, which literally make startups, entrepreneurs go out of business. Because for them to stay in business and implement those rules, they can't. And we need to put rules in that will allow the majority of us to survive, because we don't want to create an earth where only a few people can survive. And that was one of the impetus, even when I was teaching, because when I came to live in Belgium, I was primarily an academic plus the consultant. I was more focused on the academic aspect, having worked like that in Trinidad, and I really wanted to experience it. So I taught all over Europe, in Milan, Lausanne, Amsterdam, getting, where people say, wow, fantastic. But it was really to realize, and I did say this, we have some really brilliant students back home. Okay, I'm not downplaying the ones in Europe, but in Europe, the approach to education is slightly different, especially in Belgium. I know people are complaining in Trinidad about the SEA and saying that we should get rid of common entrance because it's making kids upset. But to me, it fosters competitiveness, and that competitiveness carries on into our universities and then carries on into the workplace, and it leads to great creations. And that is something I don't see it here. It's much more, let's be nice, let's create a marshmallow environment where everybody's happy. And again, that may have its benefits, but not for the world to survive and to be sustainable.
What's to me, I'm most amazed because now I'm thinking we don't have enough time with 20 minutes. There's a lot that we can speak of just based of your experience. But just focusing on a bit for your book that you would have authored, especially through all your experience being an academic as well, and now an international management consultant. You have said, just looking at the overview, that empowering social growth explores the intricate dynamics of social impact within the framework of ESGs. Why would you describe it to begin with as an intricate relationship?
It's simply because I believe that for growth to be lasting, it must be inclusive and equitable, which is where the whole aspect of ESG comes along. Because what I realize is that why ESG is to encourage organizations and governments worldwide to reevaluate their impact, not just on the bottom line, but on the environment. And then many times we don't focus on the society. We have put in the word ESG, and most people just talk environment. And nobody seems to remember, why did they put S in? And they put S in because S is the glue that is holding this environmental changes with the governance that we must put into place. And what I find is that we need a more holistic approach to ensure that this progress doesn't come at the expense of the vulnerable populations of the planet, or even the planet. For instance, if we prioritize sustainable chains and fair labor practices, then businesses can foster more resilient economies. So I'm not saying do one and not do the other. Okay, and what we will build is what you call loyal consumer bases, leading to much more sustained growth. And I also, when I looked at it, I know people focus on environmental sustainability, which can lead to significant health improvements for local communities by reducing pollution. And please remind me to get back to pollution, because I recently wrote an article in one of your weekly, in your Sunshine newspapers, and someone actually wrote me already and said, oh, the EU Green Deal is about pollution, but they didn't mention noise pollution. You need to talk about noise pollution. I said, I will, okay? And I think the reason why the EU Green Deal didn't mention it is because noise pollution is not such a controversial topic up here as it is in Trinidad. Up here, when we talk noise pollution, we're talking about the traffic. So they build up sound barriers. In Trinidad, when they talk about noise pollution, we're talking about the bars and stuff. So I'll get to that later on. And what I believe is that strong governance practices ensure transparency and accountability, which in turn will foster trust and stability in societies. And that's why we had the S there. Because like I said, when I was with the UNFSS, at that time, we were still looking at the MDGs and stuff like that. And what we were realizing in putting in all the new rules, and this is one that came to light, it was looking at UK had a complaint, United Kingdom, they sent in their complaint because of the fact that to make all the supermarkets compliant, some of the small groceries, the mom and pop shops were having problems. When we asking them, they must do this, they must do that, they must do the other. They were working properly. They were being as sustainable as ever. But then we were on their cases. And we see this happening now. Like someone wrote me recently and they said, I know plastic straws are inhabiting the whole sea and stuff like that. And I laugh because you may not even realize that whole analogy about plastic straws came from a young girl doing something about a lake in her area. And her aunt put it on TV because the aunt was proud of her. And next thing you know, we all hear about the percentages as if it was actually scientifically tested, and it wasn't. But okay, plastic cords. But tell me something. Do you drink with a paper straw?
No.
Paper straws don't last very long, right? They don't last very long. So all we women, I say women because more women want to look, let's look elegant with the straw. It's hopeless, It might as well use a macaroni and go with it. So I think that this synergy, and that's why I said intricate, amplifies social capital and paves the way for inclusive growth, illustrating that if companies would prioritize ESG criteria, which is not hard to do, and my book lays out the foundation of what it is. Stop making it sound like something only big conglomerates can look at. They invest not just in operational enhancements, but in the very communities that sustain them. And this interconnectedness, I say, will underscore the power and responsibility of businesses to shape a more equitable world. I've always been about equity. Everyone must benefit.
I'm curious to know, through all your research and all that you've learned over the years, and through the very many companies that you've worked with, we always speak about sustainability, but are we focusing too much on responsibility and ethics rather than sustainability?
Yeah, I think we are not we are looking at sustainability from the wrong side. I mentioned in a previous interview, we are talking about electric cars, and I see Trinidad is also on that. Go fully electric. My spouse will not go fully electric. And he is Mr. Sustainability himself. He's there with me. Oh, we have to separate this, and we have these 4 little bins, and you put this and this and it. And I'm like, are you not going to go fully electric? And it's a good reason. One of my friends just bought a full electric because we have a hybrid. He bought a full electric, and he was like, darn, so much for the long drives, right? Because the full electric, if you're going to drive from here to Romania, you're going to run out of electricity and have to stop, park your car, and take a plane. Right? Even now, we'll be driving this weekend to go to Amsterdam, and he says, okay, I'm charging my car. But if it's stuck, you're going to wait with me? And we're like, should we wait with you? But, so again, not everyone can do that. Can you imagine in Trinidad, if we go fully electric and people have cars, now people park their cars in parking lots. Every parking lot is going to have enough to charge a car. At home, in Belgium, it's causing a chaos because a lot of people live in apartments and they have nowhere to charge their cars. So the government is trying to implement things to say, well, you could put in a thing and we'll give you a discount and you could let your neighbor charge. But then they said, the law said they couldn't say how much you could charge your neighbor. And some people put in, and a lady was complaining. She went by the seaside and she saw one that was available for public use from a private person. And they charged her. She saw it on her credit card bill. 89 euros for 10 minutes of charge. And she's like, what? The guy said, well, They said I could charge what I want, so I did. So it's chaos trying to get that to work. You could imagine Trinidad.
That is incredible. By the way, I kind of agree with your spouse. I wouldn't go fully electric, but 89 euros for 10 minutes of charge.
Yeah, she was like blown away. And she said, I took it because other cars
I'm blown
were
away.
there.
But this is the thing. What you're saying is that whilst we're pushing ahead with ESGs, we're totally forgetting the impacts that it has on society. We're actually focusing so much on being more environmentally friendly, more sustainable. We're trying to be more sociable, but at the same time, we're forgetting the human aspect of it. We're forgetting how this is going to affect man and how this is going to have a chain reaction effect. So then I'm curious to know, apart from government responsibility, what about corporate social responsibility when it comes?
That aspect, corporate social responsibility, figures heavily in the S part. And in my book, I actually give you case studies. When I say give you, I refer you to case studies of companies that have excelled at looking at that aspect. I did actually 2 companies. I didn't call their names. So I told them I'm just going to put like XYZ financial company and stuff. But there are ways to do it. There are ways to go out and reach out to that society, because you can't be all about profitability without reaching out to society. And I've seen like recently United, where all the conglomerates were there, they were painting houses and stuff, taking care of them. That's all good. But you have to give back. Even if we talk about going towards a more digital economy, you have to make sure people can have the skill sets to reach out. I saw recently on the news about people having problems to pay things online. You can't just switch everything to online. What about the people who don't go online? You have to cater for society. And they talk about eradicating poverty. You can't eradicate poverty. Okay, this has been tried. You can reduce poverty. But again, and I mentioned this before, and I may sound like a stock record. One of the problems was all these SDGs we came up with. And these SDGs, people like, I want to achieve by 2030. And of course, they know that wasn't going to happen. I was preaching it wasn't going to happen since 2014. I said, no, this is not. As soon as I came up here, I was like, this is not. I've worked in UN. I know this is not going to happen. It took long. It looked really nice. Everyone came up with these things and woohoo, we did really good. But no, they knew it wasn't going to happen. But what it did, it was give a lot of consultants jobs. Just like ESG, a lot of consultants have jobs. And they go in and they take courses about how to measure. And they could show you how to measure. But you cannot be putting this benchmark for all countries and all in continents, because it does not work. And even a simple one like diversity, can you imagine if they say 10% must be someone of a different race, okay, to be diverse, or 10 or 5% must be someone of a different gender? I mean, just yesterday, and I saw online in Belgium, a big accounting company, I'm linked with the chairman, he put out, oh, we have 30 new partners, and we are brought in, and we're trying blah, blah, blah with diversity. And I looked at it. Okay, great. They had 9 men and 4 women. But guess what? They all were Caucasian, right? So I put below it and I said, beautiful. I love that fact that you're embracing diversity. A pity it's only gender related, but it's a start. And a lot of people are liking my comment. And my spouse said, they're going to delete your comment from that LinkedIn post sooner because you're stirring up trouble.
But I'm curious to know, diversity can have so many definitions depending on who you are. So then how do you achieve, if you are seeking diversity, how do you achieve some level of equity or equality through diversity?
You know you have achieved diversity when we don't talk about it anymore. When we are not talking about it, when you're not looking at me as if I'm a female, you're not looking at me as if I am heterosexual or gay, you're just seeing me as a person. You know, and people are keeping looking for things. Yesterday on LinkedIn, I saw someone commented that she changed her gender to male, and suddenly she's no longer getting things about diapers and stuff, but she's getting a lot of things about politics and finance. So I said, okay, but I don't think the algorithm is just on gender, because I've always gotten politics, I've always gotten finance, I never got anything about maternity. But it could be the fact that I was a politician, and maybe it also looks at your jobs. But we try to always say it's gender, it's this. And again, as you said, diversity is so diverse. And we only focus on race, color. Trinidad perhaps goes with hair, right? Because Trinidad, I keep telling someone, I had an interview once and I said, I'm proud to be Black. And people wrote me and said, it was so nice for you to say you're proud to be Black, but that's an American term, you know. You should have really said you were mixed because you have many mixtures in you. I was like, listen to people. When you come to live in Europe, okay, you will realize all these mixes and we talk about back home and who's no straighter and crooked. They don't care about that. They don't care about how straight your hair is. You're black, white, yellow. End the story. Move along. You know, and that is something we need to realize that. And I'm amazed that in our own country, we have that division based. So we take race and we go even further into race. Okay, but there's so much things in neurodiversity, educational diversity, physical diversity. Some people who, I mean, the amount of people you're discovering who actually are dyslexic and can't read things as we would. And we used to call them stupid and they were really brilliant. And what I tell people on ESG integration offers substantial opportunities. And if they incorporate it, and that's what my book tells, if you incorporate it, you can enhance your brand reputation, attract investment, and drive innovation. And it can achieve greater operational efficiencies and tap into new markets. And before I get killed by the person who wrote me about noise pollution, okay, I had to do, because they said, make sure you do noise pollution. And yeah, pollution, a pertinent issue that underscores the importance of ESG, especially in Trinidad, is the noise pollution. And it's in the residential areas. We don't have that as much here, because I'm being honest. Do you know here, we cannot even mow our lawn on a Sunday. Okay, Sunday is a day of quiet. No mowing of lawns, no buildings, nothing. It's just pure bliss. I remember my sister came in and she's like, oh, I love it. You all are so quiet up here. And she's from Woodbrook. So you can imagine the big difference she experienced when she came up here. Okay.
No, I mean, I've had personal experience with noise pollution as well. And quite frankly, I mean, I've been woken up not by an alarm on a morning, but by someone blasting music from their vehicle on many occasions.
I'll be honest, you're not going to get that here. You're not going to get that here. And that is because noise pollution can have severe adverse effects on residents' health, well-being, and overall quality of life, as you would know. And this actually goes with one of the fundamental principles of ESG. The S talks about human rights. And if we integrate ESG principles into urban planning and business operations, it will help mitigate those negative effects. And that is something we could look at. If I was going to advise a government that is focusing with that, not necessarily Trinidad, because it could be other governments, I would recommend that they implement stricter noise control measures, establish clear zoning regulations, because we have that. There are certain places you cannot have that. You have to apply for permission every time. If you're having a party and you're going to have that party go late, you have to inform your neighbors. Just as it's a house party, you have to inform your neighbors. In my street, someone is going to renovate their home. Do you know they have to put up a notice about when they're going to start a renovation? And we're allowed to file complaints if we think it will disturb our peace, okay? And you have to have accepted decibel levels being lower in residential environments. And that will cause a problem because Woodbrook was residential and now it's commercial/residential. And for instance, as I said, we can't make noise on Sundays and not after 10 p.m. and not until 7 a.m. Even dog barking too much, you can get in trouble for it if your dog is making too much noise. But again, focusing on ESG criteria, like what my book is telling you, we can create a development model that respects and upholds human rights, ensuring that the community well-being is central. If you get your community behind you, and that's why diversity without inclusion doesn't work either. Because diversity, as you know, you said is many things, but you need to include those people in the decisions so that they will feel equitable. So that's why we always say DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Okay?
I think that there's a lot more that we need to speak about. Unfortunately, time does not necessarily permit. However, I'm going to ask if you can just share with the viewing audience now, if they like to get a copy of the book, and I certainly encourage them to do so, where can they get a copy?
Well, I've made it easy. It's on Amazon, so Amazon.com for those in Trinidad. And again, pushing sustainability, it's available as an ebook as well as a paperback. It's the same content, but the ebook is much cheaper, of course, because it just comes straight to your screen. And the ebook is $9.99. It sounds like a ad. $9.99 US for the ebook. Very simple. You don't have to pay duty, but I don't even know. Do you all pay duties for books coming in still, or they stopped that? Hopefully they stopped it, right? Because you should never put a duty on gaining knowledge. That's all I have to say. But again, And then also there's the paperback. Because some people amazingly, the paperback is selling more than the ebook. And I was like, all my sustainable friends, I was like, I told you all about sustainability, head me, but we want to feel it. And they're having fun because people are sending me pictures of themselves with my book. And I'm keep building this little collage of some of them to see how it's going across. I mean, across different parts of the world. And it's nice because people have to realize it's valuable that we know, and to make it simple. I try to make it as simple as possible because I believe with more knowledge being shared, and that's how I always brought across teaching. If I share that knowledge, transfer it to you, you will be equipped to make better decisions. So Amazon.com
I tell you what, the reason why the paperbacks are doing so much better is probably because, speaking from my personal experience as well, there is no better way to read a book than having it in your hands and being able to just scroll through the pages. It's absolutely no better way, no better experience. I still am trying to get used to this ebook thing, but never mind. We'll get there soon enough. But thank you very much for your time this morning, Ms. Therese Batiste-Cornels. And
thank you so much for having me.
That there's a lot more. As we spoke about it off air before we came into the interview, and even all that you spoke about during the interview, I really hope that we can have another discussion in times to come.
You know how to reach me, so not a problem.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. All the very best to you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Ms. Therese Batiste-Cornels is joining us on the program this morning. I hope you were listening to all that she said, because there's a lot to take in and a lot to learn from her experiences. But working in Trinidad and Tobago, moving abroad, those examples that she used, those minor examples, when we speak about ESGs, are we forgetting about us as human beings? I mean, we're pushing so hard, for example, with diversity. And we speak about diversity, and we speak about the various definitions of diversity. And yet, sometimes in speaking about it, we get so caught up that we actually forget what it is about. So please get a copy of her book, and really makes for very stimulating conversations indeed, and very stimulating education. Ladies and gentlemen, we take a break here on AM Prime. We will return shortly.